Hey, what's up guys? This is Nick from the Men with Widget, and I'm here to show you my Edison deck that I played at Gage's Edison tournament. It is WelleDAD. So if you're not familiar with what WelleDAD is, it is a TeleDAD variant from, that's a more recent technology has revived for the Edison format. So if you'll come with me down to my playmat here. So let's start out. We're going to start out with the 2 Armageddonite. I'm going in alphabetical order, but I will say that I am playing 3 Dark Grepher. I'll tell you that now so I can sort of explain what's going on with these. So Armageddonite and Dark Grepher as well are basically the starters of your deck. They are what put your Krebins into the graveyard. They're what put your Plague Spitter, your Malicious, Goblin Zombie if you need to send that as well. They're so crucial to starting off your deck that you almost always want to have one of them in your opening hand, whether it's Armageddonite or Dark Grepher or Elemental Hero Stratos is also another starter. So one of those 6 cards you just almost always want to have. Next up is one of the names of the deck, Dark Arm Dragon. That's self-explanatory. The aforementioned 3 Dark Grepher. I side out 1 a lot, but in my mind, it's okay to play 3 in the main for game 1, because for game 1 you want the consistency of always seeing one of them. It putting Malicious into the graveyard from anywhere, whether it's your hand or your deck, is just so valuable to starting off your combos with this deck. So I was talking to someone today at the tournament, and I really recommended and said, if I would recommend anything about this deck, start with 3 Dark Grepher. So that's my first recommendation. Next up, you have Mr. Delicious, Destiny Hero Malicious himself. This card's just insane. A free level 6 is just so powerful. There's a reason why this card's like the only card in Yu-Gi-Oh! That needs to be semi-limited, because the second you have 3 of these, it just destroys the game. Elemental Hero Stratos. So this one is kind of a weird starter, because the only thing it does is actually put Malicious into your hand from your deck, or if you have a Malicious engrave, it can be an MST, I guess. But I'm back and forth whether or not I like Stratos, to be perfectly honest. But if I had to say one thing in advantage for it, there's a lot of turns where you can just go Rhoda into Stratos, search Malicious, set a back row or something, and pass. And that's just good enough to get you there. So don't cut it, but this is definitely not the best Elemental Hero Stratos deck you're ever going to see. Next up, we have Goblin Zombie, 2 of them. You're only allowed to play 2, so I'm going to play the 2 that I'm given. WelleDAD is a zombie engine deck, so you are going to play your zombies in accordance to what you're allowed to. So basically, it's the traditional package. You have the 2 Goblin Zombie, and I'll get to the rest here shortly. Next up is 1 Gore's the Emissary of Darkness. That alongside Tragodia, both of them see play in this deck due to the fact that you don't have a lot of defensive traps. You're very much a Haymaker deck. So your opponent's going to throw a Haymaker, you're going to catch the Haymaker, and you're going to throw one back, and hopefully your Haymaker is bigger and stronger. So Gore's is really good for that. Next up, we have 3 dual terminal Krebins, because the super rares are so expensive. I wish I still had mine. These guys are the main tuner of the list. You can just normal summon them and protect him with his effect, or if you have emergency teleport or telekinetic power well, either one of those gets you to more and more Krebins, which gets you to more and more synchros. 1 Mizuki for the zombie package. 1 Plague Spreader, the best zombie in the zombie packets outside of Goblin Zombie. It's a tuner, comes back on its own. There's a lot of turns where you go Dark Grepher, discard Plague, send Malicious from your graveyard, pass, and you're set up to make a level 8 next turn, just from that. 1 Sangan. This isn't the best Sangan deck, but it has plenty of targets that you want to search up. Tragodia, like I mentioned earlier. And then 1 Zombie Master to round out both the monsters and the zombie package. Next up, we have the spells. 1 Allure of Darkness. I can't leave home without it. 1 Brain Control. 1 Burial from the different dimension, or from a different dimension, as I learned writing my deck list earlier today. This card's just so insane in this deck. Recycling Plague Spreader zombies, recycling Dad Exiles, Mizuki, There's just so many utility things you can bring back. I actually got to bring back some today to get 3 to play Dad, which is really fun. Your one allotted copy of Emergency Teleport. Foolish Burial to just act as another starter to get whatever you need in the graveyard. I side this one out sometimes too, which seems insane, but I think in games 2 and 3 you want to get a little bit grindier. You can't just be as committed to the OTKs. Giant Trunade to help with back row. Heavy Storm. Mind Control alongside the Brain Control just to have more synchro fodder. MST. Reinforcement of the Army. And then 2 Telekinetic Power Well. Konami, please give me like a super rare of this, please. This card's just so powerful. Special summons Krebins from your graveyard, as many copies as you want. You take a little bit of damage off of it, but that's negligible. So, I was talking to someone today about the deck, and I said I played 2 and probably wouldn't go down, but I could see a world where maybe you cut 1 and just play the 1, but to be honest, I like the 2. And then last, we have a couple traps. We have 1 Bottomless, 1 Call of the Haunted, 1 Mirror Force, 1 Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. I only wanted 1 because I didn't want too many of the discard traps. I'll talk about at the end what I would change because we may be talking about that one again later. Return from the Different Dimension. Solemn Judgment. Torrential Tribute. And Trap Dust Shoot line rounds out the top 40 cards of the deck. So that's the main deck. We'll quickly go through sideboard and extra deck here. So the extra deck is 1 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. We are playing the Cyber Dragons in the side, so that card's really good. Allied Justice Catastor for your level 5. Armory Arm for the level 4. Black Rose Dragon. Brionac. Colossal Fighter. I'm just going through these quickly because these should all be pretty self-explanatory if you know Edison format. Dark End Dragon. This card's a house, just really good. Doom Kaiser Dragon. This one's mediocre. Doesn't come up a lot. It didn't come up today, as I'll explain later, but I don't think you can leave home without it because it's just so powerful in the mirror match. But God, do I sometimes wish this was just like anything else. Especially since I'm already playing this guy, it feels real bad. So, Gaia Knight, the Force of Earth. You literally just you need 6s. You make so many 6s in this deck, and all the good ones are limited to 1 or restricted or in some way. So this is the generic one you have to play. Because you only play one of this guy, Goyo Guardian. Next up's Mistworm. Then Red Dragon Archfiend. This guy won me a game today, so really highly recommend keeping your Red Dragon Archfiends on here. Revive King Hadez. 1 Stardust Dragon. And to round out our extra deck, we have a Thought Ruler Archfiend. Alright, so we're going to go through the sideboard now. So the sideboard's a little interesting. I'll talk about why I chose certain things here. But we'll start out with something obvious. Double Cyber Dragon. If you run into a machine deck, you're going to be really happy you had these. I ran into a lot of hero decks today too, and I was really happy I had these as well. Because sometimes a hero deck just can't answer you going Special Summon Cyber Dragon, attack over Nereus Alias. Like, they have to, like, Gemini Spark it, or 1-for-1 themselves. And, like, if they're wasting 1-for-1s on these stupid, silly Cyber Dragons, they're not stopping you from Synchro Summoning later. Next up is probably the most controversial thing. 2 Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. So, like I said, this has been in alphabetical order. You may notice I went from C to K. That means I'm not playing DD Crow. We kind of came to, Tyler and I kind of came to this decision last night where we were going to play 2 Kaiku and 1 Soul Release as our graveyard interaction. I did kind of miss Crow, not going to lie. I'm actually coming to the point where I may be main decking Crows. We'll see. I'll talk about that shortly. But, so this was the graveyard interaction that we primarily went with. Kaiku just provides a lot of utility, protects you from DD Crow, while also wiping out your opponent's graveyard. And to be honest, Soul Release is actually a lot better than people give it credit for. Being able to just take out like 5 monsters from an opponent's graveyard just sometimes messes them up so hard that they just can't recover. I'll come back to the Soul Release though. So 2 Kaikus, 1 Spirit Reaper. This deck card's also main deckable if you wanted to. It's really good in the zombie package. It's just a really good card. Oh, I guess I should explain. I bring it in against like the hero decks. I bring it in against dragons, decks that like have trouble just beating over killing Spirit Reaper, just so it can stall me like a turn or 2 to get to what I need. Next up is Lightning Vortex. This is just, you know, when you need to answer a bunch of things all at once. We almost main decked the Lightning Vortex, but we decided not to and just keep it in the sideboard. There are a lot of matchups where this is like not great, which is why I didn't want it. But the matchups where Lightning Vortex is good, like dragons or like a really swarmy deck, another haymaker deck as I like to call them, you just want to have like a clean answer to a couple cards. And there's not like Dark Hole, there's not Raigeki, so to answer a couple cards, you need something like Vortex. The Soul Release, like I explained earlier. And then the traps. So the other bottomless is in the sideboard. I went a 1-1 split. Kind of want both in the main deck moving forward. I felt like my matchups were kind of weird, but there's a lot of situations where you just kind of want the bottomless, so I wanted the second one in the sideboard at least. Next up is 2 Lightning Prisonmere for Lightsworn, for fairies, you know, just shut down Raikos, like whatever you want it for, this is there. Next up, triple Pulling the Rug. This card, it's so good. Hits Caius, hits Stratos, hits Machina Gearframe, hits Deep Sea Diva, hits Swap Frog, Monarchs, just so many cards. Hard to interact with because it itself is a counter trap, and this card needs a reprint. Konami, please fix that so people can afford them, because like the rares are like $10 a piece or something, and these are like 50, 60. Please reprint, Konami. And then finally, to end our side deck, I have 2 Royal Oppression. This is for just like those matchups where it's really special summon heavy and you get to go first, and you can go like special summon out maybe like a Stardust Dragon and like one other thing, or like have like a beater and a Stardust and set a couple back row, including Royal Oppression, which is entirely possible with this deck, and sometimes that's just good enough to win. Alright, so if you want to...
So Nick, how did you do at the tournament?
Well, we didn't do as well as I wanted to. We only went 3-2. Like I said, our matchups are kind of weird. We only faced essentially 2 decks, but we finished 10th with the 3-2 record, which was not good enough to make the top 4 cut for prizes. But I'm really happy with the way I played today. I didn't get as much testing in as I wanted with WelleDAD, because it was kind of a last-minute decision to play it. But all in all, if I had to sum everything up, round 1, we lost to Hero Beat. It was actually Diva Hero Beat. That was a really close one. There was a lot of back and forth with that one. Round 2, I beat the Dark Calling Rock Quick Draw Dandy Warrior deck. I don't really know. It's kind of a pile of cards at times, but we got past that just to run into everyone's favorite Quick Draw once again. That time was Volcanic Quick Draw. We did not win that one. That pretty much locked us out of top 4, because I think you needed to be X1 with good breakers to get in. But going in round 4, I decided I just wanted to have fun. So we stretched a little bit, shuffled up, and it was Diva Hero Beat once again. We actually got there this time, and then in the last round we faced Frog Hero. I know that's not quite Diva Hero Beat, but it's still a hero deck, so we only faced Hero and Quick Draw out of the archetypes of the format. Lots of absolute zeros today. If I had to talk about what I would change, I'm a little iffy on the Phoenix Wing Blast. I think it's probably just better to be like a Pwib, or not Pwib, a bottomless trap hole, and then you throw like a dust tornado or something in the side just for those really heavy back row matchups. I liked 3 Greffer. I didn't really miss Mystic Tomato. Caius is another card we chose not to play. I didn't miss Caius, but I think there might still be room for Caius. Maybe Trag's not necessary at this point. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. Oh, DD Crow. One last thing, DD Crow. We didn't play any this weekend because we were kind of cold on it. We wanted a little bit more a little bit more of like a better catch-all, and DD Crow doesn't really catch everything as well as like Resolve working Kaiku will. There's a world in my mind, and I'm taking this from Gage himself. So in his Diva Zombie list, I believe, was what he was playing. He played 2 DD Crow in the main. Because he's taking that from like modern day technology of the idea that hand traps are just the most powerful thing to be doing. And hand traps in Edison are pretty much just DD Crow, Herald of Orange Light. I don't think any of the ones he play. So no one's really playing around game 1 DD Crow. So I think you could really metagame and really like find room in here for some DD Crows. You can maybe like cut Sangin, Trag. You can, I guess, cut maybe a Krebins if you wanted to go down on some of that, but I probably wouldn't. I liked having 3 Krebins. MST can get moved to the board. Like, a lot of things can get shifted around, and I think if you want DD Crow somewhere in the 55, definitely make room for it, and then definitely maybe look into the main deck, because the other cool thing about having DD Crow in a Dark Arm Dragon deck is the idea that you're going to be able to manipulate your graveyard a little bit better. If you only have the 2 darks, pitch DD Crow, you have 3 darks. And I just think those little stupid things just kind of come up. You're also playing Return from the Different Dimension, not Dimension Fusion. So I guess Dimension Fusion bans, so you can play that anyway. But there's a lot of upside to be able to play DD Crow right now. I didn't miss it as much as I thought I would when I started the day, but I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm pretty happy with the deck. I think I touched on everything that I wanted to touch on with what I would change and how I would move forward with WelleDAD. So that's everything for me. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.